Lisa, good morning. Right now we know that agents from the Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms Division from the federal government here assisting Cincinnati police in an incident police are describing as a mass shooting. As you mentioned, one person is dead. Gunfire erupting around 1 o'clock this morning in a scene that has been described as chaotic. We had an opportunity to talk with witnesses inside the nightclub when the shots ring out. They describe, of course, a chaotic scene, young people running frantically, trying to find the exits after a call for security, then gunfire. Police again continuing their investigation at this time as shots ring out. Several young people again reporting to a variety of hospitals in our area.
I cannot think of a shooting incident with 15 total victims or 14 total victims in my 27-plus year career.
They never stopped the music, but they was calling for security for like 10 minutes before they actually came.
Calling for security for about 10 minutes, then what did you hear?
Gunshots, maybe like 20 of them.
Gunshots ringing out, about 20 of them. Loud pops close to you?
Loud, yes sir.
Loud, very close to you. Now, inside the nightclub, you described it, said it's basically 2 rooms?
Yes, sir. 2 large rooms.
So you walk into the first room, and there is a bar area inside the first room, and that's where the DJ is?
That's where the first DJ is, yes, sir.
There's a DJ there, and then you keep going a little bit further?
There's the double doors, and that's when you enter the larger side of the room where there's another bar and another DJ.
All right, so again, 2 rooms inside of the Cameo nightclub. This is about 1 o'clock this morning. Describe it for me. You say it's a capacity crowd.
Yes, sir. It was just crazy in there. All you heard was the DJ telling them to get security there. They never came, and next thing you know, you heard gunshots ring out, and everybody started running.
One of the most frightening parts of that is that the 2 rooms of the nightclub, the inner room is where the gunfire took place, according to our witness. So people literally had to run through that scene of bodies on the ground where people had been shot. They had to run past that to get outside. Once outside again, 4 Cincinnati police officers, we understand, were working in off-duty detail, were able to quickly respond. They did try to administer CPR, but again, 1 individual pronounced dead here. Several other people again arriving at area hospitals, some being transported by Cincinnati Fire, others of course arriving in their own personal vehicles. Lisa?
Richard, your witness describing a chaotic scene there. Police have gone back and forth, 1 shooter, possibly 2. The witness you talked to earlier seems to believe there may have been more than 1 person firing off shots.
Well, again, Lisa, this is a fluid investigation. You've got to imagine, of course, in putting yourself in that situation of the witness, you hear gunfire, you're in a nightclub, it's crowded, at least 20 shots ringing out. You're not sure which direction it's coming from. It's dark, so it's certainly very difficult to put that into perspective. We spoke with Captain Kim Williams, who's the District 2 commander. Her account that there were multiple shooters matches what our witness says, but again, there are continuing reports that are coming out as the police department goes forward with their investigation. One of the things that they've been telling us is that there is video surveillance inside of the nightclub. Whether or not that surveillance was working, what information will be available once that surveillance again is reviewed by officers, still remains unseen. But again, there are several witnesses at a lot of different hospitals. There are witnesses here at Cameo nightclub. As this investigation goes forward, police are going to be putting together all of those clues to determine who is at large. That's one of the biggest things that's a concern at this point. There's at least 1 individual who is at large, who is responsible for this shooting. And that's where Cincinnati police again asking for citizen help as these young people are starting to come home and are starting to realize how chaotic this scene really was.
Hopefully they will be gathering that information. That is important to note, Richard, that somebody is out there, someone responsible for firing these shots. And it sounds like the newest information, Cincinnati police are going to get some help from a higher authority, from an agency, the ATF. Is that correct?
Having the resources of the federal government, of course, they're going to be able to do a difference with ballistics. As you mentioned, Lisa, determining how many shooters really were there, what type of guns were used, whether those guns may have been used in other crimes. There's going to be access, of course, to the federal databases that are also there in terms of where these bullets may have been registered or these guns may have been registered that have been used, what's happening with the ballistics concern. So certainly having additional resources is going to be a big factor. One of the things you've got to consider, this is Cincinnati Police District 2. Officers are here from throughout the city. We've seen officers from District 5. This is a scene when people fled, of course, when the shots are fired off. That stretches down maybe 2 to 3 miles along Kellogg Avenue. The parking lot of Cameo nightclub itself may not be that big. And from what we've been told and confirmed with Captain Williams, the shooting itself happened inside the nightclub. That's what the district commander told us, that the shooting occurred inside the nightclub and that her officers on the detail were in the parking lot. So there was no gunplay outside of the club. Everything was centered inside, but again, you've got to consider with all of the people, the shots, the mass casualties. This is taking in a lot of resources from the department, so the help from the federal government will certainly be appreciated.
Richard Childs live for us there in the East End in Linwood. Richard, thank you. And as Richard noted, when the shots were fired, people were running for their lives. Those who were wounded and could not make it out had to wait for ambulances. Others jumped into their own personal cars or friends drove them in for treatment. Let's continue our team coverage right now. UC Medical Center. WLWT News 5's Megan Mitchell is there monitoring the situation. How many victims taken there, Meg?
Yes, Lisa, and there are 8 victims here at UC Medical Center. But as you just mentioned, this has been a chaotic scene to try and follow because those victims were trying to flee that scene, right? So there are people going to different hospitals, driving themselves, their friends driving them, as opposed to normal procedure, whereas an ambulance is called and the victim is taken to the hospital. Now, 8 people, like I said, are here at UC Medical Center. Out of those, 1 is in critical condition right now. 3 are in serious condition and 4 are in stable condition. And we have gotten an update on another hospital, Bethesda North. We know that at least 2 people were treated and released at Bethesda North Hospital. 2 people are also at Christ Hospital. They are in stable condition. And of course, there were a total of 15 people shot, 1 of them dead. And as Richard has been mentioning, this is a chaotic scene, which makes the aftermath in terms of trying to get people help and being treated a lot more difficult for medical staff and, of course, for first responders and police as well. So, of course, we're continuing to find out more about just where are 2 other victims that were told to us by police and exactly where they are in the location to see their condition as well.
Megan, what about activity there outside the emergency room? Have you seen police officers or perhaps family members of these victims trying to get more information?
And that's a great point, Lisa, because just within the last half hour or so, we did see there were a couple of police vehicles that left the scene that were here since we got here. We got here around 4:30 a.m. So, of course, this is an active scene in terms of people coming and going at this point still. It's definitely more quiet than it was when we first got here. But when we did first get here, there were definitely groups of people standing around waiting, trying to figure out exactly what happened to their either friends or loved ones. Of course, unless you are designated to go in and see the victim, you have to stay outside. You have to stay, and that's what people were doing, trying to figure out exactly where their loved ones were and where their friends were.
All right, Megan Mitchell reporting live from UC Medical Center, part of our live team coverage. Megan, thank you. We will continue to lead the way on this story on air and online. Go to our website right now. We have the newest information we are inputting there on WLWT.com and also on our mobile app. We'll get